Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our December edition of Change Masters webinar. My name is Mariella, and I'm an associate and senior change advisor at Change Accomplishment Hong Kong. Change Accomplishment is the PROSCI affiliate for Hong Kong and Shenzhen. So we are the change management experts who can help you with all your change management needs. On the call as my guest today. I am delighted to have Michael No, Customer Experience Lead at Workday for Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, and ASEAN. Michael, welcome to today's webinar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariella. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Great to have you. And I'm looking forward very much to listening to your own experience as well in terms of Workday implementations. For today's call, if anyone has any questions, please do not hesitate to write in the chat, or even if you have any comments, please do so. Welcome to all of you. I can see some old friends and colleagues as well who have joined the call. So I'm delighted and really warmly welcome you. Of course, happy Friday, and we're running up to Christmas. So this is our little gift to you if you are planning an ERP implementation next year too. Our topic today is about essential change management for de-risking your ERP implementation. And this is a huge topic, and we only have 45 minutes to go. So, of course, I have to apologize in advance that we won't be able to share everything there is to know about the topic. But today, together with Michael, we'll look at three things that we think are really important for de-risking your ERP implementation. But before I continue, I would like to give Michael the floor to introduce yourself. Michael, tell us a bit about yourself and your role at Workday.
Certainly. Thanks, Maria. Again, thank you for having me on this webinar. I mean, change management is such an interesting topic, and it's a real passion of mine. So I'm delighted to be able to share some of these experiences with you and your experts on the call as well. So just a little bit about myself. I'm very fortunate over the course of 25 years, being able to work in a number of fantastic organizations. Major companies in banking, financial services, airline, in gaming, hospitality, public sector, and all across Asia Pacific. So, as Mariella said, I cover Hong Kong, Taiwan, Asia, and 6 other markets across Southeast Asia, and all with a unique interest and differences. I joined Workday about 3 years ago. And it's been a real blast and a real venture with the organization. And just for those that don't know too much about Workday, it's essentially an enterprise cloud platform for HR and finance. And in its simplest terms, it helps organizations manage the 2 most important assets of their company. And it's their people, it's their money. And it's really as simple as that. Workday was born in the cloud in 2005, and today is proud to serve over 10,000 customers, and that equates to about 70 million users across the globe. So we do have a bit of experience with helping our end users, and we're very proud of that and that journey.
Yeah, definitely. We're looking forward to hearing more stories about that. And tell us a bit, Michael, as customer experience leader, when do you start interacting with your client in their implementation journey?
Oh, absolutely. So I look after all our strategic accounts across the region, Mariella, and for us, customer experience really begins from the first conversation that we have with the customer. Where they begin to share with us some of their pain points, their requirements, their visions, their desires. So it's really pre-project stage when they have the concept and initiation, right through to getting started with Workday, through the implementation, and more importantly, post-implementation. when they already go live and into an operational mode, I carry through that engagement with them to ensure that they realize their objectives, their benefits that they had envisaged right at the beginning. So it's an end-to-end process. It's an end-to-end journey. And that's how we at Workday think of customer experience.
Fantastic, which means you have a view over a lot of the implementation challenges as well that customers face. To what extent, Michael, does the success of a Workday implementation rely on the users, on the employees who need to use it?
Users are a critical part of the implementation and critical part of the success, Mariella. And it goes back to the fundamentals of how Workday is designed with the end user in mind. And so a lot of the features, functionality, the self-service capabilities, self-sufficient capabilities are all inbuilt to serve the end customer. And so they play a critical part in the design of the solution, and even how Workday looks at the methodology and the implementation execution of that. It's built in to every stage and key activities of the project that users are involved through all that journey. And even beyond that, we define again success not at the point of go live, not necessarily that is the end game. We think of that as one key milestone in the journey, and the journey really goes beyond that. So it's a continuous, it's continuous evolution. So they play a critical role right from the start, during, and after.
Fantastic to hear you describe the user involvement throughout the journey and the definition of success. These are really critical components as well of good change management. So that's great to start off with a system that's already looking at that. Um, we, as Change Accomplishment and as affiliates of PROSCI, we have a very strong point of view, of course, about why change management. And our research consistently shows that a structured change management approach is more likely to lead to a successful project, a project that meets or exceeds its objective. And that's why, of course, we would include change management in a project like an ERP implementation. And the way we think about change management is that every individual needs to change in this change journey. If you're implementing Workday at a company with 1,000 users, every one of them will need to have the skills, the mindset, the behaviors that will make the use of the ERP reach its benefit. And then the other thing is also about the integration of both the technical and the people aspects of change. If we don't have a good system, fantastic change management won't change the fact that the system doesn't do what it's meant to do. But if on the people side, we do not engage people to help them adopt the system and to use it proficiently, then that's also going to get in the way of success for ERP implementation. Michael, in your experience, are companies becoming more attuned to the people side of change when they're doing Workday implementation?
I would say it's an evolution for many companies, Mariella. And in fact, when I cast my mind back to when I first arrived in Hong Kong about 15 years ago, you think about that situation where change management was very new, it was very nascent at that point in time. And the concept of change, even for large MNCs, was very, very basic. I think it was a simple sort of awareness of it, and And for those companies that were aware, change management equated to simply training and in a sort of simplest form. But over time, and I think as projects go into transformation and customers get a bit more experience, they begin to evolve to a broader sort of understanding and awareness of change management. And the sort of evolution of that, they saw change management as not only training, but it's training and then communications, which was a nice sort of a step change. And in recent years, I would say, again, depending on the context of which countries, which cultures you're looking at, organization and national cultures make a big difference. But I would say that in Hong Kong, we're beginning to see that change management is more than just training and comms, but it's about sponsorship, it's about, end state. So it's beginning to fill up, but I think there's still some journey and still way to go, Mariella. So I would say lots to still be done. And that's just talking about, the situation in Hong Kong. In other parts of Asia Pacific, I would say they're probably even in the earlier stages of their change management.
I see.
But to your question on the importance of people and technical change, I believe it's 100%, important and critical. It's really for us, it's two dimensions of the same coin. Where we've seen some customers really be successful is that they begin that technical and people change and preparation together and right at the beginning and interlocked all throughout the journey. And the opposite is also true, where I've seen some projects and customers really being challenged is where that is not in lockstep with each other. And in more cases than not, usually it's the change management, the human aspect of it that sort of falls behind. So, but having it together as it's been illustrated there, I would certainly agree with that sort of philosophy.
Yeah, I wanted to share this slide as well, which is about the change readiness. The change is a journey, it takes time. Over on the purple part of this diagram, you can see the ATCAR, awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement, which is basically a model for organizational change that the PROSCI methodology works on. To your point, Michael, when companies do not give enough time for the change process, the ATCAR journey, as you can see below, is squished and compressed and more likely to just focus on the technical training, on the system training. But of course, implementing something like Workday has more than a technical dimension to it, like whether it is the mindset, as you said earlier, breaking down silos, what is the process and the implication for my role as a user. And so we really urge our clients to start their change management work early on in the process, maybe even before selecting their provider. But certainly by the time they select their provider, they really have to get their change management ducks in a row.
Yeah, no, certainly, Mariella, and you're absolutely right. I think the best customers and the successful customers that I've certainly observed start their change sort of process right at the beginning, and even a lot before that as well, before the actual project kicks off. And certainly even in the concept and business case stage, they're already thinking about the hard questions of why change, why now, what are the compelling events, what's the burning platform that really triggers that change and transformation, and more importantly, where they are going in terms of their target and their vision state, and really sort of map out for that change program what it is set out to achieve. And the really successful customers take it not only communicate not only within the project team, but as broadly as they can to the organization. So there is a clear message and a clear communication about what is to come and how they can be involved in that journey. So absolutely, as early as possible, I would say would be best practice. And I guess just to add on to that point about the duration of ERP projects, traditionally we've seen ERP projects as a multi-year journey. However, as with cloud and Workday and many other sort of more agile platform providers, that time to market is shorter and shorter. So rather than 2 or 3 years, you're looking at time to market and time to value within the year, or even 6 months, or even in some cases, depending on the solution set, even shorter than that. And so if you're not starting right from the beginning and from the get-go, you're already going live before you have a chance to be prepared for it. So it's critical to have that readiness up front.
That's a really important consideration for changeability as well, because change agility, because what you're saying is, before companies had a kind of luxury timeline of 1 year or 2 years, but now the volume of change is such that they really need to get things done very quickly. So what's going to enable you to do that? And in a way, you can see that the mindset of change management, involving people, communicating with them, allowing them to be a part of the change, enabling them to be part of the change is part of that organizational changeability that will get those timelines that will make them realistic, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So today is about 3 essentials for de-risking your change, and I wanted to put it in context of, the process of change. You're at some point in phase 1 preparing for the change, as you have been talking about, Michael, managing the change and sustaining the change. But the preparation period is foundational. And as you said, at this point, we are trying to define success. What are we trying to achieve? Why are we doing this? What is going to be the impact on people? Who has to do their jobs differently now that we're adopting a new approach? And what will it take to achieve success? These are the kind of focus that we adopt when we're doing change management. And in terms of the 3 essentials that we will focus a little bit more on today, there are 3 things that I'd like to discuss further with you. One is about understanding the impact of change. 2 is about building up sponsorship, and 3 is about defining success. Not because these are the only essentials, but these are essentials at the very start, really, without which your foundations will be quite weak, no matter how much communication and training you do at the managing change phase. If you have not understood the impact, if you have not defined success, and if you don't have a strong leadership team behind you, a lot of things can go wrong. Okay, so let's start off with impact, right? So ERP can be quite a disruptive change in an organization, and a really essential change management exercise is that change impact assessment. right at the very start, even when you don't know all of the impacts that are going to hit. Um, Michael, what are some of the key people impacts and risks that you see when organizations implement Workday?
Workday, as I mentioned, is a cloud-based platform, Maria, and with that brings many benefits. Benefits around scalability, benefits around time to value, time to market, security, for example. Um, but it's still to many and many customers a relatively new concept. And with that, there's certain myths and misconceptions that can sometimes catch customers off balance. Three key ones come to mind. And the first real myth is that because it is a cloud-based platform, that it should be plug and play. And one of the impacts of this myth is that it may lead some organizations to believe that they can take a fairly hands-off approach to the implementation and not necessarily put the required thought and the resources into that. And expect still an outcome that's uniquely suited for their organization. And so that's one sort of key consideration. The second key sort of myth that we see quite often is that there's also not enough thought being put into the end state, where the target operating model, what's the structure look like, what's the processes, the roles and responsibility, and indeed the mindset that the change is a continuous philosophy. And so it's not a set and a forget situation, but as with cloud and again with Workday in particular, there is constant innovation. For our situation, we have two major releases per year. With each major release, we offer hundreds of new features. And so the need to continue to adopt and keep up with that innovation is critical. And so the mindset of organizations, when they think about their target operator model and the people aspect, they need to have that continuous adoption, continuous change, and that growth mindset is critical to the ongoing success. And the third key myth and that can catch customers off balance is really the importance and the continuity of sponsorship. And so while I think most would accept sponsorship is critical through the implementation part of it, quite often we see that once projects go live, the sponsor would move into the next transformation or the next key strategic initiative. And when you don't even in that sustain phase have a strong sponsorship to continue that innovation, we see some behaviors may slip back, or you may not continue to keep up, as I mentioned, with the level of innovation and maximize all of that, all those benefits going forward. So having that sustained sponsorship is critical to the ongoing success of transformation.
Yeah, Michael, you took the slides right out of my really because completely 1000% agree about the importance of sponsorship. And from a people perspective, we say it's not just about signing the checks and signing the project charters. That sponsorship has to be active and visible. The sponsors have to be skilled at building coalitions with peers and different managers, and also skilled at communication. So it's a very demanding skill set. It's not just a case of showing up for cutting the ribbon or whatever goes into your ERP launch. And a lot of ERP, well, ERP can extend across so many departments, right? So that coalition aspect of the sponsorship becomes particularly important. What would you say about that?
Oh, 100%. Mariella, I think in true transformation, the impact is not just to the immediate project team or the immediate business user. It's quite often across organizations, and with the ERP, especially platform, you've got, as I mentioned, the two most important assets, your people, which runs throughout the organization, and your money. It's critical to have that cross collaboration and coalition. It's one of the foundational elements the sponsor can offer. I would also
Yeah,
say
yeah.
in terms of the communication and collaboration, it's also providing the psychological safety for the project team and to the rest of the stakeholders to also be able to air their concerns or their needs in a very open and transparent way, and for that to be successful. So without that psychological safety, certain things may not be aired and tabled as appropriately. Even from a project management perspective, we've seen what we, in industry would call, sort of watermelon projects, where it looks green all on the outside, but actually at the core is quite red. And we would say that's, eventually that would lead to very challenging outcomes. And so sponsor, one of the key things is to be able to provide that air cover, so some of these issues can be aired transparently and managed proactively.
Yeah, which ties into what you said about you cannot be hands off in managing ERP implementation, right? And as a sponsor, to actively and visibly participate throughout the project doesn't means actually that you have that uh, presence, that you're there, that you're actively talking to the people who are working on the project, actively helping them to resolve the big issues and actively helping them to get the resources that they need based on a real understanding of what's going on and what they're trying to achieve. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to share this figure with you because in all of our research, every year ProSci carries out a best practices in change management research. And if there's one thing you can make a bet on, is that sponsorship will always have the top place as the number one contributor to success. And we've all been in it, right? Where you have, if you have a weak sponsor, the whole project is going to suffer, right? Decisions not being made or not being made robustly enough. The flip side of that is a sponsor who energizes, who gives psychological safety, who keeps people focused on the vision for change and why we are doing this. Because sometimes it is a difficult process, right? You have to let go of so many things to adopt something new. And that psychological aspect cannot be underestimated. And in fact, related to that, then how do we define success, right? How do we define if we are successful in change management? And when we first met about this topic a few weeks ago, Michael, I was actually really, pleased about this discussion because you told me how important it is for Workday to help their clients to be successful. So in a way, there's this alignment of the objectives, which is fantastic. In PROSCI, we have three measures of change management success, which is about the speed of adoption, how quickly people are up and running on the new system, and also the processes and roles. The ultimate utilization, how many of the target users actually do take it up, and then the proficiency, how well are they performing with the whole change. From your point of view, how does Workday evaluate the success of an implementation?
No, these are spot on, Mariella. I think, especially again with Workday and cloud-based SaaS solutions, adoption is critical. And users using the system, finding value in the system, and realizing that sort of value continuously is critical. And the reason is, and different to, I suppose, legacy systems in yesteryears, is that with cloud-based systems, if they don't see value, it's very, in relative terms, very simple for them to not renew and not continue the relationship just because the platforms are SaaS-based. And so there's a continuous need to be able to support users in that adoption journey. And we have a number of leading metrics and indicators to support users' feedback on the level of adoption, which areas of the we call SKUs, or which areas of the platform that's being used, how often it's being used, the duration of usage. We have a lot of metrics and telemetry around that. We obviously have telemetry also around some issues where customers do come across certain things that they're not comfortable with, that we raise cases, and those cases are monitored to resolution, and the time to resolution is monitored as well. And we quite often have customer satisfaction surveys, which also poll for that level of value and satisfaction with the customers, and that health, those health indicators. So we continue to monitor those very, very closely, provide feedback to customers, and really work together to ensure that they continue to see value right throughout their journey.
That's fantastic, because it means that as a change manager, if I were working on a Workday implementation, right, there's lots of data that you can provide to help us evaluate the progress on our change journey, and to make adaptations, and to focus on the areas that are challenging. That's right.
No, absolutely. And so there's also intelligence, baked into the platform to predict certain situations, and quite often that's where we can put in preemptive actions to begin to help customers. And one of the things is around the change aspect of it, and whether it's increasing training, whether it's in increasing understanding and support and so forth, that is critical to the ultimate success. And so it's a big part of continue to stay with the customer experience and customer journey.
Yeah, this also ties in with change management becoming more data-based. When I started out, my boss in the Middle East back then used to call it the fluffy stuff. And of course, I really
Not
hated
anymore.
that.
No.
But as we go along, not only is it not fluffy in terms of its impact, but certainly there's more and more data that can help us to focus our effort, maximize those dollars of change management spend and really make sure that we get that speed, that utilization, that proficiency really in place.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. We've talked a lot. I don't know. I have to admit to you guys, to everyone, that I can't see the chat screen. Are there any comments or any questions that you would like to share with me and Michael? Okay.
Hi, I have a question.
Hi, Michelle.
Oh,
Hi,
hi.
Michelle.
Hi. I've went through the information you posted on your website. I'm very interested about your course. So could you please tell me what specific insights can we gain from the 3-day course? Could you please provide examples of how these insights can help solve particular problems? Thank you.
Okay, so Michelle, I assume that you're talking about the change management practitioner course, and I'm gonna share some information in right now. So this is a 3-day course. In fact, let me put up a little slide we have about which shows you a QR code that you can scan about our change management practitioner course. We have one coming up next weekend, December 21st to 23rd, and two coming up in January. And you can get an early bird discount for the January courses. But basically, during the 3-day course, you become proficient at applying the PROSCI change management framework. We mentioned earlier, for example, ATCAR, the 5-stage journey of individual change. You will learn how to apply the ATCAR lens to something like a Workday implementation. You will learn how to prepare for change, manage change, and sustain change with different tools to be applied at every stage, and different deliverables that you would use to move change forward. Does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you.
Please get in touch if you're interested. I would like to invite our our attendees here today to share in the chat anything that they have that they want to take away from this webinar today. Is there anything that particularly struck you? Anything that maybe you can apply for your current change program? Or anything that you reflect on from past experience that we talked about today? So
I just have a question for Michael, if he can share a little bit more of the suggestions to engage our sponsors better, in case there's some misalignment of what is the ERP change outcome or KPIs.
Yeah, hi, Kathy. Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's a great question because quite often some sponsors only represent certain divisions or organization objectives, and that may not necessarily resonate with other divisions. Is that your questions, and how to get that sort of alignment across the enterprise?
Yes, it's a big challenge. Yes.
No, I absolutely agree. There isn't a silver bullet, I would say, Kathy, but I think what's really important is to have that conversation, have that coming together and sharing of what as I mentioned earlier on, what the business case, what's the vision, and really for stakeholders and sponsors to be able to articulate why there is a need for that change. So it's very, very important to be able to get down to the roots of that, and to show why it's such a compelling event, and quite often when you do go down into the core pain points, usually those pain points do have cross division or cross organizational impacts. They may not necessarily know it or may not necessarily see it at the surface level, but if you go down to its core, whether it's in your HR platforms and systems, or whether it's in your finance, or whether it's in your marketing, they generally do have some cross organization impacts. And so to be able to highlight those, and then to be able to articulate what the future state would, the benefits of that would bring, and how other stakeholders and organizations can benefit from it. As you're probably hearing, change management, landscape is what's in it for them, what's in it. And so be able to frame it from their perspective and understand it usually opens up more opportunities for alignment.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
what you're
very
saying,
much.
Mike, is also important in terms of the context of change. There is, so much change going on. There's saturation, there's change fatigue. So we have to be able to articulate the reason for change, not just at a grand strategy, we have to keep up with the competition kind of level, but also on that more, as you said, like the pain points are more likely to be targeted, right, to individual or departmental needs. Yeah, we've come to the end of our webinar today. Michael, thank you so much for sharing all your, all your insights, and also great to know about how Workday views change management and actually actively supports all of that. Change is a constant, change success is not. Do reach out if you want more information about how to do change management well. Stay connected with us. You can scan our code to connect with us on LinkedIn. Next month, January, for the new year, we'll have another webinar in our Change Master series. And we also have a little Christmas/anniversary benefit. If you can get a discount on our Change Management Practitioner program by using the discount code anniversary24, which relates to PROSCI's anniversary, by the way. Okay, Michael, I know you have a flight to catch to Hong Kong. Thank you so much for joining us today. And for everyone else, wish you a happy Friday and happy holidays as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye all. Merry Christmas.
Bye.